Uh, Welcome, Fedilla Kassa. Am I right?
Yep, you got it. Welcome, Ephrem. Thank you for having me on the show.
Great. I've been calling you Activist Fedilla Kassa. I know you are in a different field, but lately, because of Tigray, you have been the humanitarian activist. So, what do you think if I call you humanitarian activist? Am I? I mean, you are a political analyst too at this time, because you are already understand what's going on in Tigray, in Ethiopian politics, better than some other people. A lot of people who were born in America, or people from America, they have limited knowledge of the political situation in Africa, but you already know a lot. So calling you political analyst or activist, what do you think about it?
I mean, you're right that I am a surgical technician and I'm still in school and I'm currently on the medical track. So politics isn't currently the goal, but I think anybody is able to take a stance and anybody is able to step up no matter what field they're in and become an activist. A humanitarian activist is simply anybody who cares for humanity and is doing their part to vocalize that in any way, shape, or form. And you don't necessarily have to be out in front of people doing it. You can do your part behind the scenes as well. Not everybody is comfortable being in front of people, but I think that doesn't make them any less of an activist. I've met a ton of people who are organizing and doing a lot of work behind the scenes, and they're also activists. So I wear that with a badge of honor. So I don't think it has anything to do with our field. I've met a ton of activists, and I'm working with a ton of people who are political analysts as well. I would describe them as such because, as you said, it's simply anybody who is well informed and is doing their part to stay informed and is sharing the message with their community in whichever way that they can. So I like I said, I wear it with a badge of honor, so no problem with that.
Great, I appreciate it. Thank you so much. I know it's that name is when I see your age, when I see your the total thing, I mean, like, Fedilla is like a little girl, but your knowledge, your advocacy is a great example or a great model for our community especially in Seattle area. We have several young Tigrayans, and when I compare you with other Tigrayans or other Ethiopians in political situation, in your in an activist, it was great, and we are proud of you. So for the next question, before I go, we have done a lot of an effort to advocate our people. And do you think all these protests that we have done so far, there is some improvements? Do you think we are making changes?
I think so. We have been out here week and week and week after another. The entire community on a worldwide scale has been doing a lot to push this message. We've had multiple Twitter campaigns, email campaigns. We've done a ton of outreach into other communities, and we've really, really organized. We've got a really strong community here, and we've done a ton trying to generate awareness for our cause and get humanitarian aid into Tigray and to stop this war. Unfortunately, with the previous administration, we were kind of at a dead end simply because Trump and his administration did not want to work with us. They weren't an administration that was for humanitarian causes at all on any way, shape, or form. In fact, they had actually publicly supported Tigray and have appreciated Eritrea and have shown appreciation for them showing restraint in Ethiopia, which was just mind-boggling. So to go from that administration, and also now we're in a new administration with the Biden administration, we have a lot more hope, and we recognize that, and I'm proud of us for continuing the fight, for continuing to be able to continue to advocate for our message. I think we're seeing some results. If anybody who isn't aware, the U.S. has publicly condemned Eritrean forces for being in Tigray and have told them that they definitely need to do their part in leaving Tigray. They have acknowledged the looting, the rapes, the massacres. And the Ethiopian government as well has acknowledged some of what's going on, although they haven't showed exactly how bad it is, and they're still trying to cower behind the reality of what's going on. But they're realizing that this information is going to come out regardless of what they do. So the pressure that we've been putting on them, it's working. They're fighting, but they're showing their true colors, and the Biden administration hopefully is going to continue to do their part in applying pressure on Ethiopia to get Eritrea out of Tigray.
Great. I was going to give you a good news about children spokesperson. They released an Associated Press actually last Tuesday, last night. They have reported a credible report of looting. Well, last week we've been talking like, hey, United States, you need to know that Eritrean troops are in Tigray already, but they have a challenge because of the Trump administration. They know Eritrea is in Tigray. They are doing a lot of stupid stuff, but they've been on denial. But today, it's amazing that the Biden administration has already changed the ambassador in Ethiopia, the American ambassador, immediately. And Pompeo is already changed. And also today, the statement was released that the Eritrean troops are supposed to be move out from Tigray immediately. That's what I heard today. There is also evidence of Eritrean soldiers they are already confirmed that. So this is what do you think our progress? Do you consider this is a big progress, or do you still need an action?
I think acknowledgement is step one, but action is definitely needed. America is definitely a superpower. We are on a global scale. We have a lot of power and a lot of economic influence. And I think we can use the economic power we have to apply more pressure on Ethiopia. We can take our finances out of Ethiopia, and we could also urge the international community to speak up as well. A lot of the international community will sort of looks to America as an example, and us being already the first ones to take a step in acknowledging that Eritrea is in Ethiopia and condemning them for doing that, I think is a big step, and hopefully the rest of the world will follow suit. And if America then also serves as a role model and applies economic pressure on Ethiopia and definitely aids in the conversation of getting humanitarian aid into Tigray, the rest of the world will follow suit. So that's the type of action I think we need from the Biden administration. Biden's NSA pick, Jake Sullivan, has already talked about the war crimes that are going on, and he's definitely mentioned how at risk Tigray is. Again, these conversations are great, but we do need more. All talk is definitely opens the way for discussion, but following discussion, we need action. So this is where the Biden administration, as well as the rest of the international community, the United Nations, needs to do its part in saving innocent lives. The conversation that we're having has acknowledged the issue, but it doesn't do enough for helping the actual people who are struggling right now. So we do appreciate that, and we do recognize it as a start, but we really do need more. If we continue to let this go on, this is going to be something that goes down in history as another genocide that was ignored by the rest of the world. And I think we deserve better. It's 2021 and we can do better. So I have high expectations for the Biden administration, and I really hope that they meet them.
Oh, great. Yeah, the statement reflects new pressure by the Biden administration on the government of Ethiopia, Africa's second most popular country with, I don't know, I can estimate that about 140 million people. In the angle of the Horn Africa, can you believe that? And the deadly fighting in Tigray nears about how many months now? Almost 3 months, right? It's about almost 3 months in darkness. So, like you said, the first acknowledgement of the statement and releasing Eritrea soldiers are already invading Tigray is a good thing, but we need an action. I will emphasize that you are what you are saying right now. So, when you say an action, is the Security Council needs to address this, and then that means we need to have. I know Eritrean government, he doesn't care about killing people. He's been killing his own people, and he doesn't care about America. I don't think he's gonna moved out from Tigray like immediately. So, do we need troops like United Nations troops like Kosovo, some other places they have done? Do we need the United Nations troops in between Tigray and Eritrea, and also he was invited by Ethiopian government. So do you think the invader, not only the invaders, but also the Ethiopian troops. Do you think the Ethiopian troops needs to go immediately as well?
Yeah, the United Nations doesn't have an army, but they have humanitarian aid workers. And in order for the humanitarian aid workers to get access into Ethiopia, that humanitarian corridor needs to be opened up. And that is something that the United Nations, America, as well as the rest of the world's superpowers can do. Ethiopia is the second most populous country in Ethiopia. Nigeria is the most populous country in Africa. And they're also another economic superpower. So I'm also looking at our fellow countries in Africa. This situation has the potential to affect the entire world, our neighboring countries, the Western world, as well as the economy of the nation as a whole. So if unfortunately there are people who don't necessarily hear the humanitarian issue of it. So if that doesn't speak to you guys, I'll put it in perspective for you guys in terms of finances. Ethiopia had one of the fastest growing economies in the world, and that's now steadily on the decline. So any money that any nation had in Ethiopia, you're going to lose it. That's speaking to India, to Turkey, America, China, all of these people who had a lot of money in Ethiopia. That money will be gone if this conflict doesn't de-escalate immediately. So if the humanitarian struggle doesn't speak to you, I hope the economic one does. And if you are worried about that, honestly, pulling your money out of Ethiopia will not only put pressure on them, but it'll also save your money as well, because that money is not going to come back to you. This war is now pouring into the rest of our neighboring countries. Sudan has been heavily affected by this, with them having to take an influx of our refugees and having to support us, as well as also being attacked by the Ethiopian and Eritrean military. They have not only attacked actual their army, but they've also attacked the refugee camps that are going on in Sudan. So these types of situations, it's showing us that this conflict is getting worse and worse. There has been on EritreaHub.com, it has shown that Eritrea and Ethiopia on the low have talked about having another offensive strike against Tigray. And this comes weeks after they've officially declared that they've won the war. So I think that if the international community doesn't take immediate steps, which includes opening up the humanitarian blockade, getting UN aid workers into Tigray, and also making it so that they feel safe in Tigray, to be able to do their work, this is going to pour out, and it's going to continue to get bigger and bigger and bigger. We're going to see Sudan also is going to be heavily affected by this. The economy of Ethiopia, as well as the greater world, is going to be affected by this. And it's really unfortunate because it can be stopped in its tracks sooner rather than later. America, like I said, it's a huge superpower. It has a lot of economic influence, and it can use its economic influence to start this discussion for de-escalation. They've started it, but the action, unfortunately, I don't see adding more troops in the situation, as far as like America sending military into Ethiopia, helping that at all. But I do think that Ethiopia is heavily reliant on foreign aid for it to survive. It is a very poor country at the end of the day. Although we did have the fastest growing economy, we started off as a very poor country. We're battling locusts, we're battling coronavirus, and we're battling things on multiple fronts, and Ethiopia is heavily reliant on foreign aid for it to survive. And without that aid, it's definitely going to spark a conversation within Ethiopia of, okay, we need to figure out what we need to do to get that aid back. Unfortunately, Ethiopia isn't worried about the innocent civilians who are starving and dying in their fields, but they are worried about their money. So by applying economic pressure on them, we can save our people.
Great. أيهم ناينا تقرأي تعود.
Right, you got it.
Exactly. So, as you have heard recently, one of the great diplomat of Africa, Mr. Mesfin, and his two colleagues were brutally murdered by the Abiy Ahmed government. It's very sad, right? One of the victims is actually physically disabled, blind, visually impaired at least. He's a TPLF veteran. We have done a lot for Ethiopia. So, in general, do you think Ethiopia is doing law and order?
No, if this was a law and order operation, it would have been kept within, the people who execute law and order, the military services and the people in charge. But unfortunately, this has poured into the streets. It has poured into our farmers. It has poured into our people. And when you are executing a law and order operation and you're trying to supposedly take out a corrupt regime, There's a way you go about that. When Seyum Mesfin was part of TPLF, and he was part of TPLF when he spoke about when they assumed power, how they treated the previous Derg regime that assumed power, and despite all of the horrible things that Derg did, they acknowledged that they're still humans, and you can't just shoot them dead in the head like they're not. The man who wrote the article about Seyum Mesfin and all he had accomplished and how much of a great man he was, talked about how when he visited Ethiopia, Seyum Mesfin showed them the prisons that the previous leaders that were in the Derg regime were staying in, and how all of the atrocities they've committed. And the man who interviewed him asked Seyum, well, why imprison them? Why not just take them out? And he said, because that's not how we do things here. They're going to pay for their crimes, but it is not my job, it's not my responsibility to take another man's life. And that's the type of person Seyum Mesfin was. He even was very active against the Rwanda genocide. He was very vocal against murder, against war crimes. He was he's a huge humanitarian advocate. For him to go out in such a way, it's extremely disheartening. He went out in a time of genocide. He was not given the opportunity to go to trial and have accurate representation and given the opportunity to plead his case. They took his life as if he wasn't human. And that's exactly the type of people we're dealing with. We're dealing with people who don't see any humanity when they look at us. They only see a group of people that they need to exterminate. They're afraid of us. They're afraid of our power. They're afraid of our resiliency because they know exactly what we're capable of. We've shown them before, and it's exactly that they realize that if we were given the opportunity to speak for ourselves, if we were given a trial, if we were given any space to speak our piece, that the world will see exactly what's going on. And that's exactly why they had to, take him out in the way that they did. And it's really unfortunate. He was a very great example for our community. He lived by many principles and many philosophies that I think a lot of us have and will continue to share as we continue our fight. I don't think any of that is lost on us. We lost a great leader, but his lead is still there. His teachings are still there. And a lot of people are going to continue to follow his lead. I'm very proud of our community because that type of strength that Seyum Mesfin had is something we all have. And I think we can use this moment, as much as it hurts us, not to mourn, but to fuel our fire. And once everything is said and done, we can mourn our dead after the fact. But right now is the time for us to continue his fight.
Great. So, as you mentioned, the report of the atrocities and war crime committed in Tigray are it's just annoying to listen. I feel nauseated every day. The city of Adigrat, the seat of the Eastern Zone Administration, with more than 100,000 residents. The Addis Pharmaceutical, Adigrat University, in Adwa Textile, all this in Boroslawa, in Zalambesa, in Sabaya and Europe. There is a lot of small towns like Idaga Arbi. They're all totally destroyed. All the infrastructures. This is not a law and order. This is just evil. This is not really. I have never seen an Ethiopian government would do this for his own people. They're not even junta. He called them junta. They've been elected by 2.5 million of Tigray people. So I'm glad that the American government is aware of this, and he made the statement today. Because of you, because of all of us, we have done these improvements, but also, what's your expectations tomorrow to do the youth and the Tigrayan community? This is international protest. It's not only in Seattle, it's not only in Portland or any other places, but this is internationally. Tagaro will protest tomorrow. So what's your expectations from them? What would you tell them? What do you think we should do differently to make a difference and to make changes in our community, American people, and congressmen, senators, and city officials? Thank you so much.
Yeah, the Worldwide Protest tomorrow is being organized by like you said, it's a worldwide protest. The entire community, the entire Tigray community outside of Tigray has really come together and have mobilized in a way that I am just mind blown by. We have multiple teams working on multiple fronts to make sure that we're all, sharing the same message, and we're all communicating in a way that we're making our needs of the Biden administration very clear. So I think that's something that we've done really well at, and we can, continue to improve on that. We have a lot of the youth have, done their part in definitely advocating and, showing up at our protests and making sure that we show a united front, and I hope to see more of that. I really hope to see a lot of our youth at the protest tomorrow. They're going on at a variety of times, but whenever you guys are able to make it, please try to show up. Even if you can't make it right on time, show up at, whenever you can. Any type of presence you have is going to make a big difference, and not just physically. If you can't be there physically, and try to do your part wherever you're at from home. Tap into the lives, share the lives on your social media. Try to get our message across to outward to other communities. I think the one thing that our community really needs to do more of is outreach. I've said it before, but I think we're having this very large conversation, but from the most part, the conversation is being held within ourselves. I think we really need to do our part in reaching out to, Black Lives Matter community, the Black Action Coalition, the Black Indigenous people of color groups, the Native American communities, and, other disenfranchised groups, and share our message with them, because they are also activists. They are also fighting for humanitarian aid. They also are against war. And a lot of the times they're not aware. I remember I have a lot on my plate right now, but at the very first protest after that, I went to a Black Lives Matter rally, and just me as myself, I was able to make connections with the leaders of that organization, some other people who had orchestrated different parts of the Black Lives Matter protest, and I used those resources to further our own movement. So I connected with them, took down their information, and then I invited them to speak at our protest. And they did a really great job of that. And after they did that, they left our protest and went to their own protest and spoke about what we're going through. And that's just one person, doing their part. So imagine if we all just mobilized and supported their communities. They're going to do their part to support ours, because their message is the same as ours. They just need to be made aware of it. So I think that's something we need to do more of, is inviting other people to our protests, inviting other disenfranchised groups is definitely going to make our message more clear, and it's going to level us up on the international scale. The Black Lives Matter movement was made not just by Black people, it was made by America as a whole. So we definitely need to be united, not just as Tigray, but as Americans. And, whatever country you're from, if you're from Germany, as Germans, if you're from Australia, as Australians, reach out to your outward communities and try to bring them in on this, because they do care. They just need to be made aware of it.
Great. So, what's your message today for American government, European Union, and the humanitarian watch for the world?
My message to them is we have, on a global scale, we have a long-standing history of staying silent in the face of genocide. We were silent during the Holocaust. We were silent during Yugoslavia. We were silent, during Rwanda. And we can't be silent anymore. You guys have broke your silence, and you guys have condemned their actions, but without very firm action, Ethiopia is going to continue to get away with the genocide they're committing against the Tigray people. Tigray has already admitted to 4.5 million people being at risk and need of humanitarian aid, and those are very conservative numbers. What's going on in Tigray doesn't just affect Tigray, like I said, it's going to affect everybody on a global scale. So my message to the to the United Nations, is to do everything they can and everything in their power to open up the humanitarian corridor, whether that's applying economic pressure by taking away their funding from Ethiopia, as well as acknowledging that regardless of whether or not the humanitarian corridor is open, we need to be very vocal until that matter is settled. They've made statements, but that's not enough. It needs to be a daily conversation, a daily discussion, until Ethiopia realizes that the world is not going to let up. And that's when I feel Ethiopia is going to back down. So one statement is great, but we need more. We need more conversations. We need more discussions. And we need, again, for economic pressure to be applied in Ethiopia. You need to take your money out of Ethiopia and make Abiy Ahmed and Isaias Afwerki realize that what they're doing, they're not going to get away with. And unless they take their troops out of Tigray and settle this matter with peace, they're going to lose their funding and their country is going to deteriorate because of it. They don't care. Isaias and Abiy don't care about the Tigaru people, but they do care about their power. And their own people, unfortunately, they do, because as we've acknowledged, they don't consider Tigray as part of their people. If they did, they wouldn't be looting, massacring, and bombarding us. But they do care about their own people. And if we take away their funding, they're going to definitely step up and do what they need to do to make sure that their power is maintained and that their people are protected. So I think that if the Biden administration truly does care about the Tigaru people, and if the United Nations truly does care about the Tigaru people, they're going to take very strict action, again, in terms of taking their money out of Ethiopia. And I feel like that's going to be a big step in this conversation. It's going to definitely change everything. It's going to change how Ethiopia views the war. And I feel like the international campaign that we're holding here is great. And I feel like this is exactly the type of things that's going to continue to apply pressure on our foreign governments and the international community to continue to take charge. So if I want to be clear to them that, the Tigaru people don't back down. So if they feel like we're somebody that's just going to go away after a while of talking, that's not going to be the case. We're going to continue to talk to them. We're going to continue to advocate for our people, and we're going to continue to apply pressure on them until this matter is settled, until our people are free, until Tigray is a sovereign nation where elections don't result in genocide. That's our ultimate goal. And until that matter is settled, they're not going to stop hearing from us. So this pressure that we're applying is consistent. And if they do care about the humanitarian aid, the humanitarian front on our mission, they'll support us and they'll continue to support our mission until Tigray is free.
Great. Can you tell me some of the slogans that we have for tomorrow?
We've got.
Yeah. the I know. Ayuhum naina. Tigray tisir.
Yep. In English, we've got, some really great ones. There's Open the Humanitarian Corridor. There's Stop the Genocide, Stop War on Tigray. There's Drop Food, Not Bombs. There's, wow, now I'm blanking. You put me on the spot. I think slogans can be made in different ways. The biggest thing when we're doing these slogans is to remember that the slogans are a great way to show that we're united and to make our voice louder, but they don't show the full picture. So as you guys are marching, take time in between the slogans to give a very detailed description of what's going on. A very short, like there's a 4.5 million people in need of humanitarian aid. The U.S. needs to take further action into condemning the war. Just a very, very brief description of what's going on. And then you can go back into the chants and slogans. That way the people around us that are listening will get a very clear understanding of what's going on. And then they're also recording what's going on. Keep that in mind. People watch out for when people have their phones out. That's when you also want to be very clear in your message and be clear that this is a peaceful protest about what's going on, and that all we are aiming for is peace. We're against war, and we're not here to further any conflict. We're just simply here for de-escalation. Very much, I think it's very important to press that matter to the people because, our message can get lost and people can thwart it and make us seem like we're otherwise. But yeah, slogans like Stop the War, Drop Food, Not Bombs, Open the Humanitarian Corridor. I think it's also important that we thank Sudan, saying thank you, Sudan, and shukran to Sudan to show our appreciation for them because they've been there for us so many times in the past. And they're here for us again. If it wasn't for them, Tigray would really be struggling. So definitely stress our appreciation for them. And again, just to be very, very vocal and be very clear that we're very peaceful. We're here for, thank you, Hadira. And I think that as we continue to be in these streets and continue to press the matter, people are watching. People take a lot of, they take what we say seriously. I've noticed even people on the street start to join our march, like people that weren't even a part of us. They'll grab a flag and they'll start chanting with us, so take note of them, appreciate them, and I think another thing we need to do while we're out there, guys, is have flyers. So this is something that, we need to definitely get done. Short little tiny little flyers, give everybody like 15 of them and hand them out to people as we're walking in the streets. A lot of people have questions, but not everybody is able to answer all of those questions, especially some of the people in the older community that, aren't fluent in English. Those flyers will make a difference for them. They can hand it to people who have asked questions. They can hand it to people who aren't asking questions. And that'll definitely take our message even further. So that's something that I think that will make a big difference as well. Again, I'm so proud of our community. We've come together in ways that I can't even imagine on a global scale, on a local scale. Tagado people are proud, Tagado people are strong, Tagado people are resilient. This is something I've seen from the very beginning. Looking into my parents' eyes, all that I saw back in front of me was strength and just resiliency. It's, you know, no matter how people feel on the political spectrum, it's something we can all agree on is that Tagado people don't back down. This is not a war that we're going to settle with at the cost of Tagado people. It's a war that's going to come with our success, with our perseverance, with us prevailing. So I'm very, you know, not necessarily excited, but I'm looking forward to everything that we're going to accomplish. And I really feel like the struggle is not going to be for nothing. Our message is going to reach the other community, our international community, and it's going to reach Tigray. They hear us. They know we're here fighting for them. Digital Wayana is on the way, and I feel like, you know, as we continue to spread our message, we're going to see a response from it for sure.
Great. Well, at the end, maybe I'm asking you those questions, but I know you have a lot of in your mind what we should do instead of asking you answering. Well, something, if you wanted to say something that I will give you some time to say, maybe something that I didn't mention, something that I didn't ask you. If you want to relay a message for Tigray people, for Tigray diaspora, for our allies, you know, Eritrean people, other people, Sudan, like you said, Sudan are the great, our Shukran people, and something that you wanted to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Ephrem. You did a really great job of asking really clear, you know, precise questions. My only message right now is going to be to the youth. If you feel like you have something to contribute to the cause, please just speak up and make your efforts known. We definitely want to unite our community as much as possible. That's entirely our entire goal right now. And all of our ideas will take us that much further. I know a lot of us have really good ideas of what we want to accomplish. So definitely don't feel like, you know, your opinion isn't wanted or asked for. We're just waiting. You know, we're really working together to unite our community. So as more information pours out and as we unite our community, just please try to do your best to be as active as possible. Every voice matters. I know we all have things going on in our lives. And on that note, I really want to make sure we're taking care of ourselves. You know, we've all heard of the story of our brother from London whose family was in Shire. He had two younger sisters and his mother in Shire and hadn't been able to contact them. He wasn't sure where his father was, and the stress of the matter ended up taking a toll, and he lost his life because of this. So we definitely need to make sure we're checking in with our own communities and we're staying safe and taking care of ourselves. Check in on your fellow Tagado brothers and sisters. We need to have each other's backs because honestly, we're all that we have. Nobody's going to take care of ourselves like we're going to take care of ourselves. So take care of your community, take care of yourselves. If you need a break, take a break and then come right back to it because this is going to be a very long fight. So we just got to avoid burnout. We've got to avoid, you know, feeling lost or hopeless. You know, like I said, we're strong people, we're proudful people, we're resilient people, but that can come at a cost. So as we continue to organize here, we are going to make sure that we're hosting events that also take care of our people. So mental health awareness days will definitely take the community further. It's been a battle for a lot of people here, especially in the States. And I don't want to, we say that, and I know a lot of us kind of feel this sense of shame because what our people are going through back home is so much worse, but I don't want to take away from our struggle either. What we're going through is hard. You know, we are fighting for our people, we're advocating for our people, and we don't even know what's going on. It's very hard. We're mourning our people at the same time, trying to fight for them. So please try to keep up your hopes, keep your spirits up, keep your hopes up. This is this movement has existed far and above before we ever even stepped into this. You know, we're stepping into something that was already established here. This is a fight that has been going on for years and years and years. It's only escalated. So all we're doing is, you know, adding to the current fight. So don't feel like you are, you know, without support. Your community is there for you. Lean on your leaders, lean on your community, and together we are going to get through this.
Great. I think so. Let's tell them, hey, come tomorrow at 10 a.m. at what
Exactly.
place? Do you know what place is tomorrow? We're gonna have protests.
I believe we're meeting at the Tagado Community Center. So at 902 Yester Way. I don't know where all of the other events are happening. If you want, I can pull those up. But please try to be there. As a matter of fact, I think I will take a moment just to let you guys know where the other protests are happening. That way we can make sure we are well organized, and also while I'm here, I want to thank everybody who's been in the comments for all of your guys' support. You guys have been very, very inspirational, and I really appreciate you guys. You know, on Saturday, January 30th, if you live in Atlanta, there's going to be a protest at 1601 West Peachtree Street. Boston is having their international protest at 10 a.m. at John Fitzgerald Kennedy Federal Building. You know, in San Diego, they're having it at Waterfront Park, also at 10:30 a.m. In Denver, it's going to be at Zeckendorf Plaza Park at 10:30 a.m. In Portland, it's going to be at 11 a.m. At Northeast Holiday Street and Northeast 11th Avenue. Vegas, you guys are having yours at 2 p.m. on 495 South Main Street. That's City Hall. So those are just some of the protests. If you guys are in those communities, please try to show up for your community. We need everybody there. Again, if you can't physically be there, do your part from home, share the live streams, tap in, comment, keep tweeting, keep being active on social media. The only difference between this genocide and past genocide is we have social media now on our side. So before, the people didn't have an avenue for them to speak up for our people, but we have that now, and it would be a shame for us not to use it efficiently. So like I said, take care of yourselves in the process. Don't overwhelm yourselves, but do please stay diligent and staying active. Again, really proud of our community, and I appreciate all the support I've personally gotten. Again, everything that I am, I've learned from my community, so please lean on your outward community. And as far as our Tagaro back home at Jahom, I know this is requiring something beyond patience. It's been over 3 months since you guys have been starving in the dark and battling. You know, I can't even put it into words. You guys are battling. You know, there's massacres, there's starvation, there's rape, there's looting, there's pillaging. They're attacking us at our very core. This war has come to our farmers, it has come to our churches, it has come to our mosques, it has come to our universities, it's come to our hospitals, and it's taking a huge toll on our infrastructure. But please do not let it take too much of a toll on you yourselves. We're here fighting for you guys until we can get the humanitarian corridor open for you guys to have the aid you need. And from there, that will not be the end of the fight. We're not going to stop until Tigray is free and we do not have to deal with the superpowers of the world trying to continue to combat us. This is something that we have dealt with for far too long, and we realize now that Tigray in and of itself will not be able to move forward from this as part of Ethiopia. That's not going to be our goal. We're not going to settle for that. This war is not going to end until you guys receive justice, not just peace. So until we receive justice, we're going to continue to be out here fighting for you guys, as we have been day in and day out. Again, really proud of our community, and thank you, Ephrem, for giving me the opportunity to speak on your show.
I'm just about the social media, like he said right now. You know, I know we have a lot of friends on Instagram, like Facebook, YouTube.
Yep.
We need to expose those invaders and killers, dictators right now, because during Rwanda genocide, they didn't have all that kind of avenue, like you said. So they have been killed multiple millions of people. We don't want that to happen right now. Since we have like all those social medias, we need to use it. We need to share all those information to each individual. We need to share our friends. And then if you are home, if you are able to come to the protest, please come. That's if you are working, if you have something, you know, you cannot do anything because you have life too. That's fine, you know. Like you said, you can share and you can do a lot of things. But if you are able to come, please come tomorrow, because this is the last protest for the month of January, and it's going to be the best because we are doing it internationally. We have to make a big impact in the world war leaders. So I do appreciate Fedilla for being with me for being with the Cyber Power of Tigray. I know this is not your first time, and this is not your last time. You will be. We will continue to invite you when we have this kind of conversation. I mean, and I want you to be. Thank you so much. At the end, maybe if you want to say something, go ahead and say something for a minute. Otherwise, I'm going to conclude my conversation with you for today.
Okay, yeah, I mean, you take care of it all. Like you said, we do need you guys there. 10 a.m. at Westlake, or sorry, not at Westlake, at the Tagaro Community Center. As many bodies as we can. He stressed that importance, and I just want to stress it even more. the more united we are, the more of an impact we have. So united on all fronts, either physically or virtually, just try to continue to spread the message. There is the tree, I Stand with Tigray, that has set up tweets that people can copy and paste and just share. You know, this doesn't take a lot of effort, guys. It's the steps that we can take don't require a lot of us, but they will definitely take us way further. So take the hours out of your day to just spend some time doing it. Tomorrow morning at 9:02, East Wester Way, that's where everybody will be as a community advocating on behalf of our people. And I really hope to see you all there. This is a long-standing mission, but we have been very diligent, and I hope to continue to see that spirit. You know, it's been a long run, guys, but please, it's gonna be longer. So please stay there, stay with us. We'll see you there tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. And I really hope that, like I said, this isn't lost on anybody. Our message will reach the communities that we want it to, but it's all a matter of how much effort we put in on ourselves. So I'll see you guys tomorrow morning, and thank you, Ephrem, again for having me on the show.
Thank you so much.